Now, let's talk about training. So, how I'm going to approach this is if I was smaller and I was trying to put on mass, right? This is how I would approach it. Now, obviously, I'm a powerlifter, but I think a powerlifting style training is great for someone who's trying to put on mass. And I will explain why. The first thing is because it's one of those sports where you can like visually see your progress. There's so many ways you can count progress when you're doing powerlifting. So the big three lifts, so that's squat, bench, and deadlift. You can see yourself so visually progressing. It's not like bodybuilding where it's not like an objective number. It's very much subjective. It's like objectively you can see you're getting stronger if one day you can do 40 kilos on bench for 2 reps and then the next week you can do it for 6 reps. That's visually saying you have gotten stronger. Stronger means building muscle as well. So that's one reason why. Because again, progress is what motivates us. When you see that you've gotten better, it gives you a sense of like accomplishment, achievement, and it's like, okay, cool. What I'm doing is actually working. And we want to get that as often as possible because it's going to kickstart that cycle. Because when you have physique goals, it's slow. It is slow. And that's why people get demotivated because sometimes you can't actually see your progress. Like it's hard to see your muscles getting bigger from week to week to week, but it's easy to see your reps go up. Like you can objectively see your reps go up. You can objectively feel that everything doesn't feel as hard. You can objectively see that, oh, this was stuck to the floor this week, but the next week I could get it all the way up and knock it out. So it keeps you motivated. Second thing is the community. That's important in all aspects if you're doing powerlifting or not. I think always get people involved in like the process because it just makes it more enjoyable. You can relate to people. If you can find like a little group of people or another person that's like doing the same thing as you can keep each other accountable. That's important. The third thing, powerlifting is so addictive. It's one of those like, again, most sports are like that, but it's so addictive because you can see yourself progressing, right? Objectively with the numbers and the reps and the conditioning. You keep chasing. It's like, okay, I want to hit a 40 kilo bench. And it's like, cool, I hit that. Now I need to hit body weight. I'm seeing everyone hit body weight. I need to hit body weight. Then it's like, okay, cool. I need to hit 80 kilos now. Like I need to hit 80 because that's the next muscle. And it's like, okay, once I hit 80, I need to hit 100. And it is so addictive that you almost like, it's such a good motivator. It's such a good motivator because like there's times where like you don't want to go to the gym. You do not want to go to the gym. But then you remember if you skip this bench day, you're going to be detrained for your primary. So you're like, I need to go in just at least for the bench. And that's put you in the gym. Like that's what we always want to do. We want to put ourselves in the best position for us to achieve our goals because humans are lazy. Like you should expect yourself to fall off. I think that's very important. Expect yourself to fall off because you will. To be lazy, to forget about your goals and be like, I don't care if I stay skinny for the rest of my life. I don't want to get jacked anymore. Expect that and know how to get around that so you can still focus on your goal. We're human. I'm not going to be like, when you first set your goal, you're so excited and it's like, I would do anything to achieve it. But then life stresses get in the way. You get tired and it's like, I could not care less. And this is why I say powerlifting is like such a good way to kind of get yourself motivated and working. Powerlifting is such a good training style for that because it's addictive. There's that sense of community. Like it's such a good way to keep yourself on track, I would say. Powerlifting style training, so like SBD mainly. I'm not saying you have to compete around like that. So in my case, powerlifting was the reason why I could even be open to the idea of gaining weight in the first place. Because otherwise, no chance. There was no chance. I remember being so scared because I was like getting strong really quickly. And then obviously like my training completely changed. I was like lifting heavy a lot of the time. And yeah, once I started getting good, I cared so much about like performance and doing well. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes to get to do better. If that's eating, that's eating. And then again, that's a good cycle for the bulk because it's like if you are thinking to yourself, okay, cool, I need to get bigger so I can lift more weight and I can do better at this sport. It helps you to eat. It's genuinely a motivator to eat because like you'll see with a lot of powerlifters, it's the same with myself. It's like you're eating the food and you're just, the only thing pushing you is picturing yourself like winning nationals or picturing yourself hitting that that milestone squat, that 400 lb squat, because it's like that's all you want. And like having that goal and achieving that is much higher than your want to like stop eating, and you're gagging, but it's like, I need those 4 reds. And like anyone who is bulked, like seriously bulked, will tell you that happens. Like you're eating, you want to stop, the only thing that's making you keep going is seeing yourself squatting that 4 reds and you're just eating. So I think that's good, because the eating does get tough as well. It's not an easy thing. Like everyone thinks bulking is easy till they do it, because they're like, oh, I always want to eat as much as possible. But then it's one of those things, we're human. So it's like when you have to do it, it's not fun anymore. It's not enjoyable, especially when you're eating just a lot more than you usually would. When you start bulking as well, your calories go up, and you're lifting heavy, you feel invincible. You genuinely feel it's the most beautiful feeling. I kid you not. You feel invincible, like you're no injuries. Like in my experience, when I first started bulking, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, because you're putting yourself in a position where you're fueled better for training, first off. You're putting more mass on your frame. You're getting wider, which is going to support the lifts. It just feels like, you know that reel where it's like, your symphony? That's what it feels like. It's one of the best feelings ever. You genuinely feel invincible, and it's worth every bite. And then it's that thing where it's like you're eating and you're like, I'm eating to get this squat. You go into the gym and like you hit a rep PR and you're like, okay, I'm going to eat more. Like this is motivating me to eat more. And it's just that very positive cycle of going over and over and over again, which is sick. And then because you're so focused on numbers and your performance, you're not really thinking as much about your physique, and it's just naturally happening. Do you know what I mean? This is what happened to me. If you're just lifting heavy and training hard, which is the powerlifting style, and you're pushing yourself because you're trying to get these PRs, so you're doing your rep work, you're doing your volume work, you're doing your accessory work, to help those lifts, you're just working towards that specific one goal, but your body is being built through that, you know what I mean? But that's not your focus. So it's going to feel like it comes a lot quicker than it actually does. Because for me, I know this was a huge thing for me, almost negatively. But she was a different girl. I'm just a girl. It's a canon event. But I was so focused on performance. And this was before I powerlifted. I was so focused on performance, and I was like flipping and doing calisthenics and stuff and doing pull-ups. Like I had a pull-up bar in my kitchen, but I was so focused on just getting all these moves down that I didn't notice how jacked I was getting. And I remember seeing my back once, like I was taking a video of me trying on something. I turned around to the camera, looked at the video back. I started bawling. I was like, who the heck is this? Like, how has my back gotten so big? Like, I genuinely, you know that I always say when you see that like meme where it's like, oh, you're not going to get bulky by accident. I quite literally did. But obviously it didn't happen overnight. It's that concept. It's like you're focused so much on performance, like the aesthetics will literally come after. As long as you train hard, that's important. So yeah, so that's the powerlifting style and why I would go through that. Now, when I say powerlifting, you can either powerlift, like fully powerlift, or just see them as compounds. So it's like your squat, bench, deadlift, and then you could add in like military press and hip thrust if you want to get a fat ass. On to the next thing, how I would train them. So if you didn't have like a powerlifting coach prescribing everything for you, that's one situation where like that's taken care of for you. But if you're just like, okay, listen, I want to do the compounds, I want to do a powerlifting style training, but I don't want to coach, I don't want to powerlift like competitively. I got you. So how I would train it is pick your compounds: squat, bench, deadlift, military press, hip thrust. You can do the other two, you can leave them out. Don't really care. And train them heavy. Like training heavy is so important. So important. And compounds are great because it's like you can move a lot of weight. Yeah, with your compounds, you can just get a lot more absolute weight. Like a lot more absolute weight with your compounds. Be so important in building like dense muscle tissue, which is what we want. And then it's going to make you an overall stronger human being, because with compounds, you're working a lot of muscles. You're working your stability muscles. You're working your prime movers. You're working your core. And doing your compounds will make you stronger for your isolations as well, which is key. And it's positive cycle. So doing your isolations will also aid in helping make your compounds stronger as well. So it's like symbiotic relationship. That's my biomed degree that I didn't finish coming in handy. Pick your compounds, push those as heavy as you can. Yeah, do those and train them hard. Train them very hard. For PRs, I feel like that naturally kind of happens when you're doing compounds. Going as heavy as possible, tracking it in however way you want to do it, making sure that you're progressing from week to week, progressive overload and that kind of thing. And there's the question of how do I actually train my compounds? I'm not going to go into too much detail. But one thing is training to failure. Yeah, because right now, why did I even say that? Right now, I'm not even doing I'm a powerlifting program with a coach. I'm literally just doing a powerlifting style of training. That's what I'm doing right now. Because powerlifting is what made me dench and it's what made me hench. So I'm like, why would I stop doing that? And I love SBD. So I'm just doing since taking a break from powerlifting, I'm still doing SBD, but I'm training it in a more kind of bodybuilding way, in a less performance kind of, in a mixture of both. So the things I'm implementing are training to failure a bit more because I don't have to worry about recovery too much. And my secondaries bleeding into my primaries as much as I did when I was actually competing. Training to failure with my compounds, and it's so fun. It's so fun having heavy weight and just seeing how many reps you can get. So I like implementing AMRAPs. So going to say maybe 90%. Let me double check that in case I say that and end up killing someone. I'll say that. Way too high, even for back then, multiplied by 0.8. So going to 80% of your 1 rep max and AMRAP, see how many you can do. And then doing back down. Yeah, so I like implementing AMRAPs, so going as heavy as possible, going to 80%, 85%, seeing how many reps you can do. And then you can basically track your progress from week to week based off how many reps you can do. One thing I love for compounds, especially squat, bench, and deadlift, ascending sets, because I don't even know why, because I like how... Okay, it keeps you in the pocket because if you're doing ascending sets, if you're doing triples and you're doing a triple at 170, 180, and then 190 is your top set, it forces you to stay in the pocket because you're going to be knackered by the time you get to 190. And it's if you don't do an ascending set, you're probably going to take bigger jumps and all this. And if our aim is to build muscle and stuff, it's that's probably not the best thing to do. So I love ascending sets because they're hard. But they also make you a better lifter because once you get to that top set, it's I know exactly what I'm doing. I've literally done it for all the sets beforehand. Just do the same thing again. And there's already a bit of fatigue creeping in there. So it's really going to make you work hard, make your muscles work hard as well. And it's still heavy. I love a cheeky ascending set. Love them. I've been doing them with all my main days for all the lifts, ascending triples, ascending triples, ascending triples, descending back downs. So trying to keep my back downs heavier than when I was a powerlifter. Trying to get it as heavy as possible, but with higher reps. So my main lift would be up to say a top set. I'd say 80 to 85%, whether it's an AMRAP or an ascending set or both, low key. For a lower amount of reps, so anywhere from 1 to 3, even 4. And then my back downs will probably usually always be 5s for me personally. And I will try to have that as heavy as I can go to get 5 to a good degree. And then I'll drop it down for a set after. And that's another thing as well, rest is really important. Rest is so important. That should be its own heading, rest. I'm finding that now that I'm not training as much, giving myself time to rest because of externals and work and stuff. But if you think about it, we want to be in an anabolic state. We want to be anabolic. What's catabolic is training too hard, too often, and then your muscles aren't actually getting the chance to recover. And recovery includes your eating, even active recovery as well, that kind of thing. So not training too hard too often. And recovery even includes we all have externals, we have work, we have school, we have relationships we have to deal with. Keep those in check because those can bleed into your your training. And being stressed all the time is actually very catabolic for your body. Like, it's ridiculous. So keeping that to a minimum and recovering. If you're training too hard all the time, your muscles are screaming. They're saying stop. We need a chance to actually like recover and build. That is so important. And then eating as well is really going to help with that like recovery. Figuring out what your weaknesses are, aesthetically wise, because obviously we're trying to sculpt our body, so we want it to be in the way we kind of want it to be. If your shoulders are lacking and you want more of that like prominent kind of wide shoulder look, train shoulders more often. Train them more often. There's nothing that says you have to train like everything equally. There's some muscle groups I just don't touch because I'm like, it's strong enough. I don't really need to do anything for them. Triceps, you'll never catch me doing a tricep pushdown. What the heck is a tricep pushdown? All my tricep work is going to be within my compounds. So benching. You know, what are my weaknesses? Weaknesses. What does weakness mean again? No, my weaknesses are my calves, but I'm not going to train my calves because I don't really care too much. If my quads get big enough that it starts making me look disproportionate, then we'll look into it. But for me, I periodize everything. If I have a season where I'm like, okay, my back is lacking, I want to train back more, I'll just train it more often. Train it more often than anything else. When I'm like, okay, cool. It's getting to a place where I can to train it as hard as I was before, then I'll start implementing some other muscle group that I want to work. Yeah, there's no need to overcomplicate your training. You're the one who's in your body. You probably have experience with the gym and with training, with what works, with how your body works, and you'll learn as the process goes on as well. Like I learned a lot just from doing it, but there's a lot of information out there and I feel like it can be very confusing, but just like this video could be said in like 4 words. Eat more, train hard. Eat more, train hard. If you want to go from skinny to sculpted, if you want to go from fit to fat, eat more, train hard. And that's literally exactly what I did to the extreme. Just that grit. So I think the main point of this video was like to show just kind of how I went about the process. Very lax. I think the whole thing about mindset is huge. Putting myself in a position where I was motivated, consistently motivated to kind of gain weight and keep going. It didn't even feel like motivation because I was so blinded by like performance and like getting my numbers up and doing this competition, whatever, that everything kind of just like came after it. Yeah, there's literally no secret. There never is. If someone tells you there is, they're just trying to sell something to you. Yeah, let me know what you think of the video. If this helped, always feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or ask me any questions on YouTube in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer if I can. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. That's the tea. We're the topic of my lunchtime.